Good morning, students. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Going on. So, which page number? Yes, Subhadra, can you tell me where did we stop with history of drama? Anyone else? We have completed the major part, I remember, but where exactly do we need to start with the short history of drama? That 2 points we have completed, I suppose. Okay. Subhadra, I'm not able to hear you. It seems you're speaking something, but I'm not able to hear you. And as of now, I have not put you on. Okay, Raj Virud has replied. Page 133, we need to start. All right, good. Thanks, Raj. We'll just share the file, and before that, I'll put you all on mute. And
Ma'am, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes, Subhadra.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so we need to start from here. And before that, we had started with this short history of drama, wherein we have seen various ages. That is introduction to English drama. That is how it started. Then Elizabethan and Restoration drama. Then apart from that, we have also seen modern theater, right? So that was we completed the last lecture. And in the modern theater, we need to complete this few paragraphs remaining here. So, talking about the modern theater, okay, it was influenced and affected by Ibsen's innovative contributions. Now, why innovation is required? Obviously, for audience to be attracted, okay, towards something, we all need to be innovative or creative. So, audience would be required everywhere, whether it's in the film industry or when it talks about the drama and all, okay, there also audience is required. So innovation is required because the audience will not spend their enough, spend their, valuable money and time watch something which has already been, shown. So that's why we need to experiment, even though if the story is same and how creatively we are presenting, that makes all the difference. So Ibsen is actually the brilliant playwright of his time, and he alone had understood the greatness of Ibsen. So now here we are talking about G.B. Shaw, right? So G.B. Shaw has understood the greatness of Ibsen, and he was determined that his own plays should also be a vehicle for ideas. So taking inspiration from Ibsen, G.B. Shaw also thought that his plays should be a vehicle for ideas, that is instrument for displaying or demonstrating his creativity, right? And that is what we all do when you're writing exams. So that is actually an instrument to show how creative you are, right? So responsibility of elevation of English drama to the brilliance of the Norwegian fell with Oscar Wilde. So here, with different terminology, we have learned that it was Oscar Wilde who took the responsibility of elevation of English drama, because drama had fallen back. So the responsibility of elevation went to the Oscar Wilde. He was also one of the famous authors. And then talking about the 20th century, so this period showed a talent in the drama with which 19th century could not compete. So that is obvious a fact. Like with the advancement in the technology and various other things, and obviously with lots of I should say huge experience that people might have gathered, obviously it's definitely going to display the talent which the earlier generation or the earlier century may not be able to compete. So now here we have examples like Granville Barker, John Galsworthy, and so on, who had explored contemporary problems. So now here, rather than talking about religion or general stories, people were actually showing the contemporary problems. Contemporary means existing in those periods. So obviously, we would be, we would feel good to see something which is relating to our problems, right? Like what could be the solutions, and then how to tackle those problems. So those things were shown in the play. Then, apart from that, uh, much of the English drama, had developed during this particular movement. So one of its originators was Lady Gregory, along with W.B. Yeats and J.M. Finch. So they were the prominent dramatists, and they had used some kind of what is called as tragic irony. So tragic irony is related to sarcasm. So that is in case if you have to show something which is absurd, which is not correct, you can either show it directly, or you can show it in a comic way, or you can show it in the form of a sarcasm. So there are various ways of depicting the reality. Many of the comedy movies that you see, so they are actually not so necessarily fictional. They are actually taken from real life situations. So rather than depicting the real life as it is, many of the creative directors and actors, they depict it in the comic way, so that it creates a light sense, and at the same time we are not hiding any reality from the audience. And then tragic irony is something like sarcasm, when you're sarcastically pinpointing to something which is not correct. So these were the things or the themes, which were used by the playwrights of those times. Then T.S. Eliot, another famous author, experimented with Greek tragedy. So he had experimented in the sense he had demonstrated in his own unique way how to, express tragedy, okay, in the Greece. And that was possible in the early 40s of the 20th century. Early 40s of the 20th century means 1940, 1941, and so on, right? So other dramatists of the modern era, okay, they were John Osborne, and they wrote on people who grew up after the Second World War. So just to remind, the Second World War period was from 1914 to 1918, right? So people had actually, I mean, many people had died, but then still there were many survivors. So those who were survivors, they were, suffering from mental trauma because they had lost their loved ones. And on top of that, the more problematic were the children who were growing, okay, with the complete sense of insecurity. So there was insecurity all over, like anything can happen anytime, right? So what were the experiences and the reactions of the people growing uh, after the Second World War? That was depicted by John Osborne. Then Kingsley Amis wrote about frustrated anti-establishment young people. Anti-establishment in the sense those young people who may be qualified, but they are not getting the right kind of a job or any kind of a business. They are not able to do so. They become frustrated. So what do they ultimately do? That was expressed by Kingsley Amis. So this way, people have developed new themes rather than talking about the same old stories. So this was a cultural phenomenon than the work of literature. So it was a complete change in the culture and the way the things were brought to the theater. And then there are names of the other playwrights who had, uh, given their contributions, like Anton Chekhov, Bertolt Brecht, etc. Then Indian drama or Indian theater. So first of all, we know our prime language for the Indian culture had been Sanskrit, right, from the first century. So now here, the origin of the drama could also be seen in the first century, that is AD Mahabharata, which was by Patanjali. This provides a feasible date. Feasible date in the sense like, which we can accept. So that is, telling us the beginning of the theater in India. So now the major source of evidence. Evidence in the sense we have the proof. Okay, so we have this treatise in theater that is Natya Shastra. So Natya Shastra is, the complete study of dance. Okay, and that is written by Bharat Muni, and this is the complete work of dramatology in the ancient world. So in the ancient world, that is going back to first century, what kind of life the people used to live, that is depicted in the form of a dance. It gives mythological account of the origin of theatre. Then also modern Indian drama has its influence from all over the world. So not just from the ancient. Nowadays, people are writing dramas taking influences from all other countries. This is a tabular account of the various periods in history and the kind of plays that were written and the name of the place. So we'll just quickly go through. So first, beginning with medieval period, 11th to 15th century, that was the reign of Henry VI. So the type of plays which were shown were mystery plays. So now mystery is we all know like suspense. Miracle I have already discussed. That is you're not expecting something, but then something happens. That is a miracle play. Then morality plays also I discussed. Okay, in the last lecture. Now talking about didactic play. So didactic play will be teaching you something at the end, right? And then cycle plays will be something like the story starts at one point in the beginning and then ends at the same point. So it's just turning back, like we have seen in case of the round characters. So round characters will be those kind of the characters, okay, who are actually having one kind of personality in the beginning and then they change their personalities and then switch back to their original personalities, right? So this is about like the cycle plays. Example is Robin Hood. Then next is Renaissance. So the meaning of the term Renaissance, most of you might be aware, it's the period of change. So that is 1600 to 1700, the reign of Elizabeth I and James I. And the kind of plays which were depicted were tragic comedy. So tragic comedy is the comedy within the tragedy play. Then melancholy is showing complete sadness. So when I'm talking about tragic comedy, that means definitely tragedy is there, but there are some episodes of comedy as well to lighten. However, melancholy is extreme sadness, which may continue throughout the play. So that's why it's called as melancholy. Then revenge plays. Many of our Hindi movies also show example of revenge plays like hero being tortured or maybe the hero's father being tortured by a villain and then the hero ultimately grows up with the intention to take revenge, right? So many movies are there. So they are actually inspired by from these kind of books. And various examples related to this is Romeo and Juliet, this is tragedy, then Henry IV, then Midsummer Night's Dream, which we are going to do. So we'll come to know. Then restoration period, restoration meaning I have discussed in the last lecture. It means restoring back to something back to its original place. So let's say drama had fallen, okay, by the Puritans, and then again it was restored. So that's why it is called as restoration period. So not just drama, so various other things, and that's why it is called as restoration period. So this is the reign of Charles II, and the kind of dramas which were shown were heroic, pathetic, and restoration comedy. So pathetic is like when we refer the term pathetic for something which we don't like or something is miserably horrible. So or maybe something which is causing you feel pity or sadness. So that is pathetic. And then heroic, wherein obviously one person or one protagonist is given all the qualities, okay, and is shown doing a lot of actions and other things. So that is heroic drama. Then the comedy, which was typical of this period, is called as a restoration comedy. So example of the plays all for love, then Way of the World, then Victorian period. So obviously it's the reign of Queen Victoria, 1837 to 1901. Then all types of plays were performed. So whether it's a comedy, tragedy, any sort of play, mystery. So example is Enemy of the People, Doll's House. Then modern period 1901 to 1945. So we have absurd plays, poetic drama, radio drama. So radio drama was something which could be also, broadcasted on the radio, because with the advent of technology, people were using radios, right? So poetic drama is, the dialogues will be in the form of the verses. Now, absurd plays are something, which are not having logic, or, which are not, very close to the reality. Then stream of consciousness. Stream of consciousness is, the aware and the educated people who are actually, coming up from the middle class societies in the European countries. So they were becoming aware of the kind of problems that they are facing and what could be the possible solutions. So that is actually described as a stream of consciousness. And the example of the plays that we have is Pygmalion and Murder in the Cathedral. Then postmodern era. This is actually modern. So 1945 to 2000. So we have almost all types of dramas. Then we have kitchen sink drama. So look back in anger examples, and then wait for Godot by Samuel Beckett. So this was giving the tabular account of the history of the drama. Next topic that we have related to drama itself is about one act play. So normally what happens is the drama is divided into acts, and the various acts are divided into various scenes. So one act could have various scenes, right? So this is now talking about one act play. So obviously, when the name we refer as one, it is going to be probably short, right? So normally, the book or the drama may have various acts, but when we talk about one act, so it's going to be short. So definitely, it will have the features related to any other play, but there would be something, which we will have to cut short. Like we have a 2020 match, okay, as compared to other matches, right? So basically, things are the rules and regulations are followed the same way, but then a few things are changed so that it completes fast. The revised course book for 11 focuses on language and literature, so students should be able to enjoy and appreciate. Okay, that's the objective. You can go through. Now we'll begin from the second paragraph. One act play is not exactly a shortened play. It's a complete story that has to be performed on the stage in stipulated time. So we are here restricted with the time, right? So shortened in the sense, it's not like it will be performed, or the story will be continued further, something of that sort. So whatever stipulated time we fix, the story has to complete, right? So we have the restriction of time here. Then obviously it will have the features and characteristics of its own. The actions will be confined. Confined means restricted to a single place, and the number of characters will also be limited, because let's say if I'm deciding a time limit of 1 hour, I cannot show so many characters, because if I show so many characters, I will have to show them, first of all, what kind of characters they are, and then how they slowly transform. So definitely, it's not going to be impressive and attractive. So it's better to keep the characters limited. Then simplicity of design and quick efforts are its features. So the prescribed one act play will help the learners understand the following features. So first of all, plot, theme. So these things are going to remain same, setting, okay, language, everything is going to remain the same. Okay, basically when we talk about any story, it is going to have a, so the plot of a one act play is limited to a single interesting episode. So plot is, again, I'm revising, which I've already discussed. So plot is something, which the entire story revolves around, right? Let's say there is a murder mystery. So we say the plot is a murder mystery. Then plot of any piece of literature is a story that has been woven into closely related chain of events arranged in a sequence. So basically all the themes will be revolving around that particular plot. So also we talked about conflict, and I have already discussed that conflict is the essence of drama. If there is no conflict, nobody will watch the drama. So there has to be some problem okay, for the story to develop. So that's why it is written in bold, conflict is the soul of the drama. So theater of the except are an exception. So theater of the except are an exception in the sense, they will be showing something, which is not having any conflict. It may show things which are, shown in terms of politics. Okay. Then theme. Theme is the central idea on which the plot revolves. So it is directly stated through the playwright's instructions. Now, there could not be only just one theme. We could have many themes. So let's say tragedy could be one theme, then comedy, then we could have lost and found theme, right? Or let's say we could have disguised theme, like we see in many of the movies. There could be various themes, okay, in one play. Then it could be implicit or explicit. So explicit is direct and implicit is indirect. And there can be number of sub themes that portray the human life. So theme helps to convey the message of the playwright. So whether it's comedy or mixture or everything, so we come to know what exactly the play is talking about. Then setting or location is a place where the story is occurring, and then we also need to take care, students. This point you need to take care. The unity of time, place, and action has to be taken into consideration while setting the stage. Now, what is the unity of time, place, and action? So, where the event is occurring, when the event is occurring, and what action we need to show related to that, it has to be, taken into consideration. In the sense, it should be relevant. We cannot show one particular time. We cannot show some other place and some other action going on. So, it will definitely spoil the show. So we need to show like what action we have to show, and related to that what kind of scenario or what kind of setting, the background setting is required, and accordingly we need to consider the time and the place where it all happened. Then language is something very important. Obviously, if there are no dialogues, okay, you may feel that there can't be any story. But then I have discussed with you all that we had Hindi movies earlier, which were like silent movies. Okay, there was one movie of Kamal Hassan. I think the name was Pushpa. So that was a completely silent movie. It's not that the technology was not developed, but it was deliberately made that way. And all the actors they had actually performed in a really brilliant way that you will not at all feel confused what the person is trying to say, or what should have been. So you understand everything through the gestures. That is, gestures is the body language and the facial expressions. You understand everything. So in the same way, we know about Charlie Chaplin. Okay, if you see some recordings of the Charlie Chaplin cartoons and all, so you will come to know he doesn't speak anything, right? At that time, maybe the technology was not developed, so it's all silent, but then still we enjoy it, right? So, but then with the advent, okay, we cannot just stick to remaining quiet. So we need to so language used needs to be appropriate. Now when you talk about language, obviously if I am in India, okay, and if I am trying to stage a play, so obviously it should be in a language which can be understood by everyone. So let's talk about Hindi. So in the same way here, we need to take care that we are using the language which is appropriate and which could be understood by everyone. And then the person who is writing the dialogue should be an expert, okay, of the language, okay, the kind of words that we choose. We cannot just have words spoken on the spot. So for everything, for drama to be shown on the stage, everything has to be rehearsed perfectly. Okay, well, and then it conveys emotions, underlying meanings profoundly. One act play has a profound effect due to its brevity of words. Students, you may underline the word brevity, okay, which means concise or shortened. That means definitely words and dialogues are used, but then everything is confined or limited. Then because we are using limited words, still it depends upon the creativity of the person who is doing the script writing and the direction of how to make those words impactful, so that the audience gets the message. So example, Shakespeare's Hamlet says to be or not to be. The dialogues of the playwright use techniques like projection, articulation, and phrasing for effective communication. So students, when we are speaking, okay, the way we speak, okay, that actually, tells us how, artistic we are. So let's say if a person is speaking in the same tone, so that is called as a flat tone, right? And that will be depending upon the requirement what we are doing. Like in case, obviously, during a lecture, we have to use a flat tone. However, in case of a drama, we need to articulate our voice, right? Articulate in the sense we need to raise our voice at some certain occasions, and we also need to lower so that it sounds interesting. And then the communication is effective. So we are actually not just using dialogues, we are using intonation, and we are using our body language to express our message. Then we already know about figures of speech like symbolism, personification, and all. So they make the dialogues extremely powerful. So in case if we are using a pun, so that will actually create more impact. The tone of the dialogues can be comic, ironic, light, playful, sad, serious. Okay. Then we have these few terms like sinister, somber, threatening. So you can just threatening is obviously if a villain has to show like he is a villain, so definitely he will be using those dialogues that create fear in the mind of the other characters. So that is threatening. Somber is like very gentle, very decent. And then coming to solemn, solemn is very dignified, right? Something which is graceful, expressing grace. That is called as somber. And then sinister is which is like singular, okay, a single person speaking, okay, accompanied to leading to disaster. So this is sinister. Then characters. So there is a limited number of characters. As we have seen, there are two types of characters, main and supporting. Like we have normally in the other Hindi movies that we see main characters and then the supporting characters. Then we have two types of characters, like round characters and flat characters. So round characters will be, developing through the experiences, and they evolve as dynamic persona. So dynamic means it's constantly changing. So let's say we have seen so many movies wherein the hero is actually negative in the beginning, maybe involved in smuggling and some other kind of negative trait. And then over the period of time, what happens is maybe he interacts with the heroine, or maybe with his own siblings, or maybe some other, kind of, divine person that he interacts. Then what happens is there is a transformation in his personality or a change. So those kind of characters will be called as round, and flat characters which will remain same. Okay, no change in the personality, and we can also call them as caricatures. So, because they are all identified or recognized through only one characteristic feature. Then, talking about the features of one act play, so it has one or more scenes, and it is concise, and it has a single dominant theme which produces singular effect, and it will treat the problem of everyday life. It has a beginning, middle, and end. The stages are that we are going to see. So first of all, one act could have, maybe one or maybe more than one scene, right? However, it has to end into a limited number of scenes. But we know everything is confined, restricted, or concise, right? Now, which are the various stages? The first is exposition. So, exposition talks about the introduction, and then the conflict, development of drama. Now this is the backbone. You can see there are so many words used for conflict, like this is the essence of drama, this is the soul of drama, and this is the backbone of drama. And we all have understood, like we cannot have any story without the conflict. The climax is actually the turning point, or rather usually used towards the end of the story, okay, through which something important changes. Then denouement, which is actually, kind of ending or closing that we say, it is usually short, and it often overlaps the climax. So we don't, come to know what exactly is climax or denouement when we watch the drama. So these were features. There is five features, okay, comprising of the stages, and the sixth one. So it gives introduction of the stage direction. So we also need to understand the various, things involved in the stage, like what things are placed in the right side, and then what exactly the left corner represents. And then apart from that, it also creates mood or atmosphere. Then the one act play also has unity of time, place, and action that is obviously required. And then the plot is simple and the actions are concentrated and there is a unity of impression. So basically, audience also understand that one thing is, being focused upon, and that's why the characters are also limited. So it presents a question and answers of which are eagerly awaited by the audience. So basically, it could begin with a question, like, any kind of social question, because we have seen that one act play could deal with the problems that, everyone is facing. Then, talking about creativity, the course book aims not only at understanding a general explanation, like this is the objective, like, why you should be studying this. So basically this kind of a study, helps develop our imagination, okay, and the learners are expected to study as well as enjoy exploring the richness of the language by studying a genre in detail. So those who have interest in taking up arts, okay, this is the base for them, right? And then accordingly, you can not just read for the sake of getting marks, but you can also enjoy, even if you don't have any interest to take up arts, but you can enjoy the stories coming ahead. Now this lesson is over, and regarding the unit test, so obviously this lesson is not there in the unit test. So whatever lessons we have discussed, that is 1.2, 1.3, 2.1, 2.2, and a few writing skills that was already sent to you. And then the contextual grammar, that is the grammar which we have discussed according to the textbook. So that all is going to be the part of your exam, and everything, not everything, but most of the questions will be asked in the objective format, and there will be few questions which could be subjective. So you need to write the answers in the Google form itself. So there will be space provided. You don't have to, make a PDF or write on a foolscape paper, right? So now with this, we have completed. I'll just ask you all to unmute, and you can let me know if you have any queries. Okay, students. So you can tell me in case if you have any queries
Hello,
regarding the
ma'am.
history. Yes.
Ma'am, I had a doubt regarding the paper.
Yes. Tell me.
The 4 marks question are the writing skills.
Which one?
The 4 mark questions.
One second. Yes, the 4 mark questions could be the writing skills. Yes, because that is only the descriptive. So you may have two or three writing skills.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Anything else that you want to ask from the history of drama? And probably in the next lecture, you may not have lectures because of the unit test. Okay. So if you don't have doubts, then we can find out what other people are doing.
Hello, ma'am.
Okay. Sneha Chaudhary, can you tell me what you have noted during the lesson? Sneha Chaudhary.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, because I'm showing it to you on the laptop, might be it will be blur.
Yeah, that is okay. You can show me on the laptop.
Yes, ma'am.
If you want, I can allow screen share option and you can share the screen. Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, good.
Ma'am,
And you
I
have
had
any?
a doubt.
Yes.
I had a doubt in chapter 1.2.
Yes, tell me.
Ma'am, on page number 19, there is a line written, the first one. As I put it down, I pointed it out to Hillary. He gave me a big smile, showing that he understood. Ma'am, I didn't understand this line.
Page number 19, right?
Yes, page number 19, second line.
Okay, just a minute. As I put it down, I pointed it out to Hillary. He gave me a big smile, showing that he understood. Okay, so this is about Sherpa painting and Hillary when they were climbing the Mount Everest. Okay, so this is about before they started their expedition, right? So they had an argument. So they both decided that in case if we continue to argue in the same way, it will be difficult for them, to achieve their mission of climbing. So they both decided that what they will be doing is they will be writing down, their commitments in the form of a pact, right? The pact is an agreement, and they will be handing it over to the Prime Minister of Nepal, right? So here it is mentioned, like what were the things that they were carrying. This is in continuation with that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, actually, the
It down in
pets.
the sense and he's talking about all the things that he has got, right? So he was putting it down and he pointed out to Hillary. So he gave me a big smile. So showing that he understood. Understood in the sense like, why he has a need to carry a blue pencil, right? So, or why when we are doing something important like climbing the Everest, why there is a need for you to, carry all this candy and little blue pencils. So here Hillary gave a smile, indicating that he understood that these are quite important things which he cannot miss, right? That is
Okay.
the message. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, students, the time is up. And in case if you still have any other queries, you can also ask me on WhatsApp regarding the unit test, or you can ask me now by the time the session ends. Sarvam Desai. So, Sarvam Desai, can you tell me what did you noted down during the lecture? Yes. Sarvam Desai. Yes, you can unmute and you can speak. I think I have allowed everyone to unmute. Okay, Satej Jage. What things you noted during the lecture? Sarvam Desai. Now you have unmuted. So can you tell me what did you noted during the lecture? There is no need for you to put the video. Okay, he's responding privately. Microphone is not audible. So this is a very silly excuse which many of the students give. How can the microphone not work? I mean, what kind of phone you're using? Okay, next person, Suyash Bajpai. So did you note something? Okay, it seems he's not there.